The Babylonian Empire was one of the most important civilizations in the ancient Middle East. It rose in the region known as Mesopotamia, which means land between the rivers. This area lies mainly in modern-day Iraq, between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. The Babylonians created powerful kingdoms, advanced laws, beautiful buildings, and impressive scientific knowledge. Their ideas influenced later cultures in the Middle East and even today's world. To understand this empire, it is helpful to look at its story in several stages, because Babylon went through periods of growth, collapse, and rebirth. Before Babylon became famous, Mesopotamia was already home to some of the world's earliest cities. Civilizations such as Sumer, Akkad, and the city of Ur existed long before Babylon rose to power. These early societies invented writing, built temples called ziggurats, and created the first legal systems. Babylon started as a small city in this region, and at first it was not very important. Around 2300 BCE, the Akkadian Empire under Sargon the Great took control of much of Mesopotamia. This empire included the land around Babylon, but Babylon still remained a local settlement rather than a major center. After the fall of the Akkadian Empire, many small city-states competed for control, including Babylon. As time passed, Babylon slowly grew stronger, especially because of its location near major trade routes. By the early 18th century BCE, Babylon was ready to rise. A new king named Hammurabi would transform the city into the center of an empire. The first major period of Babylon's power is called the Old Babylonian Empire. This era began when Hammurabi became king around 1792 BCE. At first, Hammurabi ruled a city that was not especially strong. But he was a skilled leader, diplomat, and military commander. Over time, he conquered nearby cities and united much of southern Mesopotamia under his control. One of Hammurabi's most famous achievements is the Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest written law codes in the world. He had these laws carved into large stone pillars so everyone could see them. The laws covered many parts of daily life, such as marriage, trade, theft, and farming. They followed the principle, an eye for an eye, meaning the punishment should match the crime. Although the punishments were sometimes harsh, the code helped bring order to the empire and represented an early form of justice and fairness. Under Hammurabi, Babylon became the political, cultural, and religious center of Mesopotamia. The city was dedicated to the god Marduk, and Hammurabi promoted Marduk as the chief god of the region. Temples and palaces were built, and the city's importance grew. After Hammurabi's death, his empire did not remain strong for long. Later kings were not as powerful, and enemies from outside Mesopotamia began attacking. By around 1595 BCE, the Hittites, a powerful group from Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, invaded Babylon and carried off much of its wealth. Soon after, a people called the Kassites took control of the city. This ended the Old Babylonian Empire, although the Kassites continued to rule the area for several centuries. The Kassites ruled for about 400 years, which is one of the longest continuous dynasties in Babylon's history. Even though they were foreign rulers, they adopted Babylonian culture and religion. Under their rule, Babylon became stable again, though it was not as powerful as before. They rebuilt temples, improved agriculture, and maintained trade with neighboring regions. During this period, Babylon was respected as a cultural and religious center, even if it was not the leading military power. Over time, new groups began to challenge Kassite rule. The Elamites from the east attacked several times and eventually captured Babylon around 155 BCE. This caused another major collapse. Later, Babylon was ruled by different local kings, but the region became unstable. Other powerful empires, such as Assyria, began to dominate Mesopotamia. For several centuries, Babylon often found itself under Assyrian control or influence. The Assyrians were strong warriors and built a large empire. However, even they admired Babylon's culture and religion. Some Assyrian kings, such as Esarhaddon, restored Babylon when it was damaged, because they believed the city had great spiritual importance. By the 7th century BCE, Babylon was ready to rise again. This time, it would become even more famous and powerful than during Hammurabi's rule. The second great period of Babylon's power is known as the Neo-Babylonian Empire. It is also called the Chaldean Empire because it was founded by a group called the Chaldeans. In 626 BCE, a Chaldean leader named Nabopolassar rebelled against the Assyrian Empire, which was weakening from civil wars and foreign attacks. Nabopolassar formed an alliance with the Medes from modern-day Iran, and together they destroyed the Assyrian capital of Nineveh in 612 BCE. This victory ended the Assyrian Empire and allowed Babylon to become the dominant power in the region. The most famous ruler of this empire was Nebuchadnezzar II, the son of Nabopolassar. He ruled from 605 to 562 BCE and expanded Babylon to its greatest size and strength. Nebuchadnezzar was a powerful military leader. He conquered large areas, including the Kingdom of Judah. When he captured Jerusalem in 587 BCE, he destroyed the first temple and sent many Jewish people into exile in Babylon. This event is known as the Babylonian captivity and is an important part of Jewish history. Nebuchadnezzar was also known for building projects that made Babylon one of the most impressive cities in the ancient world. He rebuilt temples, improved the city walls, and constructed grand palaces. The Ishtar Gate, decorated with blue bricks and images of animals, was one of the most beautiful structures of ancient times. Some ancient writers also claim that Babylon had the Hanging Gardens, said to be one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Although historians are not certain they actually existed, the story shows how impressive Babylon seemed to people of the time. Under Nebuchadnezzar and his successors, Babylon became wealthy through trade, agriculture, and tribute from conquered lands. The city was a center of astronomy, mathematics, and literature. Babylonian scholars made accurate observations of the stars and developed early forms of algebra. They also continued the long Mesopotamian tradition of writing on clay tablets in cuneiform script. After Nebuchadnezzar's long reign, the empire began to weaken. Several short-lived kings followed him, and royal power became unstable. In 556 BCE, a new king named Nabonidus took the throne. He was unusual because he favored a different god, the moon god Sin, instead of Marduk, the traditional chief god of Babylon. This upset the priests and many people in the city, leading to internal conflict. During this time, a new power was rising in the region, the Persian Empire under Cyrus the Great. Cyrus defeated several neighboring kingdoms and expanded his empire quickly. Many people who were unhappy with Nabonidus supported Cyrus, hoping for better leadership. In 539 BCE, Cyrus attacked Babylon. According to ancient accounts, the city was taken with little fighting. Cyrus respected Babylon's culture and religion and presented himself as a liberator rather than a conqueror. He allowed exiled peoples, including the Jews, to return to their homelands. With this, the Neo-Babylonian Empire came to an end, and Babylon became part of the vast Persian Empire. Although Babylon was no longer the capital of an empire, it continued to exist as an important city for many centuries. The Persians, and later the Greeks under Alexander the Great, admired the city and used it as a regional center. Alexander planned to rebuild and improve Babylon, but he died there in 323 BCE before completing his projects. Over time, however, Babylon slowly declined. Changes in the course of the rivers, shifting trade routes, and repeated wars reduced its importance. By the early centuries CE, the great city had mostly been abandoned. Still, its memory lived on in stories, religious texts, and historical writings. Even though Babylon's political power rose and fell, its cultural influence lasted much longer. Babylonian scholars made major contributions to astronomy by recording star movements, predicting eclipses, and creating calendars. They invented mathematical ideas, including place value notation, which helped form the basis of later mathematics. Religion played a central role in Babylonian life. The people believed that gods controlled nature and human events. Marduk was the chief god, and each new year the Babylonians celebrated a religious festival in his honor. Temples, especially the tall ziggurats, symbolized the connection between heaven and earth. Babylon's art and architecture were also impressive. The city was known for its glazed brick walls, detailed carvings, and monumental gates. The Ishtar Gate remains one of the most famous pieces of ancient architecture, and reconstructions of it can be seen in museums today. Literature was another important part of Babylonian culture. Many famous works from Mesopotamia were preserved by Babylonian scribes, including the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known stories in human history. Babylonian clay tablets reveal myths, poems, legal documents, letters, and school exercises, giving modern historians insight into daily life. The legacy of the Babylonian Empire is rich and far-reaching. Babylon's laws influenced later legal systems. Its knowledge of astronomy and mathematics helped shape later scientific traditions. Its stories, myths, and religious ideas influenced cultures throughout the Middle East. Even in modern times, the word Babylon is often used to symbolize great cities, human achievement, or sometimes moral complexity. Babylon shows how civilizations can rise, fall, and rise again. It demonstrates the importance of leadership, culture, and geography in shaping history. Although the city is now mostly ruins, its impact on human civilization remains strong. The story of Babylon is not only the story of a city or an empire, it is the story of how people built one of the world's earliest centers of culture, knowledge, and power.